Going in to Saturday, was it the plan to play so many guys on defense, or was that sort of dictated by the temperature and the humidity? What was the plan going in as far as getting some of those guys some more action as the game went
Yeah,
along?
well, that was the plan for sure, and something we've been talking about, not just going to the USF game, but prior to that, of playing more guys, keeping our guys fresh, and thought we did a really good job of that on Saturday. Of course, the tempo was a factor in making that a priority, as well as the temperature, Joe. And so we did a really good job with that. I think kids played extremely hard. Didn't have a single guy cramp. I think South Florida had 8 or 9 guys that were cramping at the end of the game. So credit to our training staff and nutrition staff. They did a phenomenal job making sure our guys were ready to play and well fed and hydrated. And I was really pleased with the effort piece, being on the road and being in that. It was hot, and I thought our kids handled it really, really well. I thought we had a good plan going in regards to playing a lot more guys. And the great thing was the guys that we played did well when they were in there, and allows those guys that typically play more snaps to be a little more fresh when they're in there. And so I was pleased with how we handled that, how we executed that.
Particular Kenneth McShan, obviously had some big plays in the game. Griffin Willis had a knock down a ball at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
A couple other guys had big plays during the game. How how have you guys, and is it a conversation that you have throughout the season, like not like, hey, you're going to get your shot, but how do you keep those guys motivated if they haven't played a ton? Or is it sort of just a self motivation for those guys that you tell them you got to be ready anytime that your number is called?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time. If you're on the field practicing, you're preparing like you're a starter. You're always one play away from being that guy, and so I think it goes into just the standard and the way that we practice, whether it's the first team or the second or the third, and continue to compete for jobs. I mean, we're always going to find a way to get our best 11 players on the field, and the guys that start at the beginning of the year aren't necessarily the guys that start at the end of the year. And so you saw a couple of personnel changes that we made on Saturday, and one moving Griffin over to three technique. I thought he played really well, did a nice job. And then, Kenny McShan starting to strike for the first time all year. I thought played really well. Certain things we can do better, both those spots. But I was really pleased with the way those guys played, and what led them to have that opportunity is the way that they practiced and prepared and battled during the course of the week. And that's always competition, man. The rents do, like they say, the rents do every day around here.
On Tulane, a lot of numbers stick out. They're playing really good right now. But I think the first thing that sticks out to me is how well they've run the ball here the last couple weeks. Um, when you look at what they do offensively, and especially, obviously Makai Hughes is a big part of that, but what do you see from them that makes them so successful in running the football?
The personnel is really good. Yeah, they've run it very effectively. They're well over 5 yards a carry, 220 or so a game. It's a priority for them. They'll do it out of 11. They'll do it out of 12 personnel. I think their old line is excellent. Like they're physical. Like they're athletic up front. They're big. Makai Hughes is as good a back as there is. I mean, really, really good player. And when they do throw it, very effective because everything's set up off of the running game, and the quarterback's been deadly efficient when they do throw it. They take care of the football. They don't turn it over. They've been great in the red zone. They've been outstanding on third down. Really, really good offensively. Really, really well coached, and they've got really good players.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Joe.
Wags.
Can you talk about what you have here in front of you, the opportunity? It's senior day in Annapolis, and I think you're 19-1 on senior day, not counting the 2020 year when you didn't have any fans in the stands. Can you talk about just what you've got in front of you as far as being able to play for something meaningful?
I didn't realize that was the record on senior night. No pressure there, huh? No, obviously this is where we wanted to be. You want to be playing meaningful games in November. You want to be in a position to control your destiny. So it's a tremendous opportunity, for us to be playing at home and playing Tulane, and So it's obviously a great challenge, but I couldn't be more excited about this weekend, the opportunity that it presents.
So Joe mentioned about their rushing attack, but what really is impressive is they are very balanced. They're one of the few teams in the country averaging over 200 yards rushing and passing. Can you talk about the challenge that presents?
Yeah, that's it. And they do both really, really well. The run game sets up everything for them. Their team is going to establish that first and foremost, but the play action off of the run game, the quarterback's a very good player. Throws it well, sees the field really well. Smart football player, takes care of the football. Is athletic enough to beat you with his feet. So there's a lot of challenges with these guys. Excellent skill around him at wide out, at tight end. And Makai is obviously a great player. The two other running backs are really good too. So they're loaded, and they're very well coached, and they play a physical brand of football. They play really hard, on both sides of the football. I think they're an outstanding football team. Play complementary football. They're great on third down, on defense as well. Very, very stingy. I think they've scored 80 or so points off of turnovers this year, and they're not turning it over. So very opportunistic on defense, aggressive, very disruptive, and they're really good in special teams as well. They've had 8, non-offensive touchdowns this year. So they're really good in all three phases, and as well a coach football team as we've seen all year.
So Makai has like 2,600 yards over the last 2 seasons. What is it that makes him so good? Is he a power back, or is he a?
He's both wags. He's really athletic. He's big. He's physical. He breaks tackles. He makes the cuts. He's a total package at running back. Catches it out of the backfield as well.
And what do you see out of this redshirt freshman quarterback, Darian Mensah?
Yeah, I think he's been outstanding. Like I said, he manages the offense very well. He takes care of the football, makes great decisions. When they do throw it, he's extremely efficient. He can get some yards with his feet as well, but running the offense extremely well, making good decisions. He's a really smart player.
All right, thanks. I'll pass it off.
Excuse me. Matt Adams, Stars and Stripes. Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it, guys. Brian, how is I know Blake has been dealing with the thumb injury. How's he been progressing? How's he feeling heading into Tulane?
I haven't talked to him today. I got a decent report from the training staff this morning, and it's the nature of that position, Matt. What we do and having to carry the ball, and he's a tough kid now. He's gotten banged up a little bit, but he's in pretty good shape.
Has that forced you to, you have been able to have a little bit of a balance this year? Has that forced y'all to go back to more running, or are y'all going to be able to kind of ramp him back up to where he was earlier in the season?
Yeah, our plan it really hasn't changed. Throughout the course of the year, he's got to be able to run the football for us. There's times where we may do a little more of that than others, but and he's running it very effectively. And so for us to be hitting on all cylinders, he's got to be able to carry the football for us.
And this being senior day, what does this mean for the guys? And are there guys that in particular this means a lot for? I think Colin Ramos, when he visited Navy, it happened to be on a Tulane game.
Really?
What for a guy like him? What does senior day mean?
Yeah, well, it's a special group of seniors, Matt, that have gone through a lot. Seen a lot of adversity and stayed the course and fought the fight, and they want to leave a legacy of their own. That's important to them, and senior night for us is about sending those guys out the right way. And our team loves these seniors. They've been outstanding in regards to their leadership and all the things they put into this program. So it's a big important night, for us, obviously.
And with this game, the way the standings are in the conference right now, this matchup has ramifications depending on who wins and stuff. What, for people who may be sleeping on Tulane, You've talked about the balance of this team and stuff, but Tulane had those early losses in the season. Just what have you seen from them as you're looking at the game film, how they've progressed?
I think they've been good all year. Those two games they lost were to really tough opponents. Obviously, early in the year, Kansas State's a really good football team. Playing at Oklahoma early in the year, and those were tough games, and they were competitive to say the least in those games. So, like well-coached teams, man, you see them getting better every week, get better at the things that they do, and quarterback getting more comfortable with what they do, and being in that system now for a little bit longer for all those guys. You see them growing and playing better together, and they've gotten better every week.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
I've got one. Two guys who jumped off to me that were young guys, Xavier Arrington and Mark Anthony Parker. I believe that was the first time they'd played with the game on the line. They've gotten in. But what were your impressions of those two guys?
Gotcha.
Yeah, really, it's a good question. Really, really pleased. I thought Xavier went in and played really well on the snaps he was in there. Looked fast, looked twitchy. Didn't look out of place at all for us. So it's good to have a guy like that, a young guy, emerge as a guy that we can put in to a game, in meaningful situations. And Mark Anthony, the same thing. Both those guys have really, really bright futures here. They're going to be really good players. And, I think Mark Anthony's to the point now where he understands the defense. It's just a matter of time before both those guys really start to make a contribution. It's hard to play here as a plebe, as you guys know. And this is the kind of time of year where the guys that we know are going to be really good players start to help the football team because you can trust putting them on the field. And so it's great to get those guys reps. I was really pleased with the way both those guys played.
Thank you. Joe Miller.
Yeah, Coach, I know sometimes you don't have a lot of time to look at what they've done defensively yet at this point on Monday, but just looking at some of their numbers, I mean, the thing that, it sticks out is they play a lot of guys on the defensive side of the football field. Pretty too deep in a lot of places, and a lot of those guys play. What have you seen from them defensively so far?
Yeah, well, they're really talented. Even when those backups get in there, I mean, they're deep. They play a lot of guys, as you said, and they play really hard, and they keep those guys fresh. But you watch them. I haven't dove into them today like I have the other side of the football, but I see them in crossover games. I watch the film. Been really impressed with what they do defensively, schematically. But also just how hard their kids play and how talented they are to tackle really well. They're really, really disruptive. They cover well. Secondary is elite. I really do. And get good players, at every level. There's really no weaknesses for these guys on defense.
I was looking at some of the advanced numbers on Tulane offensively this season. They throw out of play action 52% of the time. Does that mean something to you? What does that mean to you when you look at something or hear something like that they use play action so much?
Well, it's tough because they're running the ball right at you and they're running it effectively, right? And then they get you to bite up on the run game and drop it in behind or over the top. And it's challenging. And like I said earlier, everything that they do, a lot of what they do, outside of maybe third down in the pass game is set up by how well they've been able to run the football and things that complement that, in the pass game.
One other thing, just going back to South Florida a little bit, I know last Monday you weren't happy with the way the special teams performed after the Rice game. How do you, I mean, Riley punted the ball incredibly well. Landon had the big run on the fake. How happy were you at sort of from week to week with you saw from the special teams?
Yeah, I thought it was better, Joe. Still some things that we got to do a better job of. You're playing a lot of young guys on some of the teams, and those guys have to step up their game. But did some good things. Riley he's hitting the ball really well. I'd love for him to hit it in the right direction a little more often. Something we got to do a little better job of. But he is hitting it well. We sprayed it a little bit on Saturday, but our coverage units have not been as good as we'd like. Give one big return. We got called back because of a holding, but we got to be better at the second level. When our gunners get down there, if they don't make the play, the other guys have to clean that up. And I was real impressed with Lance Gossett on Saturday. I thought he kicked off really well, 111 deep in the end zone one time, and really pleased with how he's played the last couple of weeks. We're doing some good things on teams, but that's got to be an X factor for us, and don't feel like it has been, up to this point.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Joe.
Wags.
So Tulane's averaging 41 points per game. What is the key to slowing them down, in your opinion?
Well, there's a lot of things that go into that, but yeah, I mean, we've got to be able to stop the run. You know, if they can run the football effectively, it sets up everything else. And so that's where it starts for us. And when they do play action, our eyes need to be in the right place. We need to be able to cover. We need to keep the ball in front of us, and so you got to stop the run, and you can't give up, explosive plays.
Tulane's won 16 straight conference games, I believe. Can you talk about did not miss a beat with a coaching change, which is,
No,
rare. They just, the new coach came in and they're exact same, they're dominant still.
yeah, and I think John's outstanding. I think, you saw the job that he did at Troy. I think he's got tremendous staff. A lot of times you see a coach leave and take a, quote unquote, bigger and better job. There's a little bit of a drop off, and I think they've gotten better. I think they're a better team right now than they were a year ago, and so it's a testament to John and his staff and what they've been able to do in a short amount of time. But I think he's done a phenomenal job. Like I said, these guys are really talented. It's the reason why they won 16 or 17 straight or whatever it is. But they're extremely well coached as well, and they play really hard. It's just a really, really good football team.
Is he doing anything? Is the offense and defensive schemes different from what Willie Fritz was doing?
You know what? I didn't break down Tulane's offense last year, so there's some similarities, but certainly some differences. I know that just based on what I watched across the eyes a year ago.
Offensively, would you just kind of describe it as a pro style attack?
Yeah, sure, you could say that. I mean, they want to run the football. They've run it 450 times and they've thrown it a little over 200 times. So they want to establish a run game, and when they do that, they're deadly efficient throwing the football.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Wags.
I think the note that John Summerall, as a head coach, has never lost a game where his team outrushed the opponent kind of says it all. I think it's 24 now, but yeah, for sure he's undefeated. Matt Adams.
You talk a lot about, needing to, their offense being run the ball that opens everything up. What is it going to take to be able to slow their run game down? And the second part being, we watched Notre Dame and they really ran the ball on y'all, but it allowed them to open up the big plays. How do you prevent, the run game from opening those big plays up here with Tulane?
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to technique and fundamentals up front, gap integrity, fitting things well in the run game, running to the football, right? I think that makes up for a lot of things when you swarm the football and play phenomenal effort. There's some things we can do to help ourselves in the run game. We can't just sit there and play static defense all day, obviously. Have to be able to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, every week, Matt. In order to stop the run, you have to play great fundamentals up front. You get to win at the line of scrimmage. Gap integrity, eyes in the right spot. We're going to have our safeties and corners be able to support the second level and tackle well when it gets to them. And just got to make them earn everything that they get.
Their run games probably looks a little different than the offense that y'all run, but the scheme that y'all have, guys may have some familiarity with how to contain the run. Does that serve as a benefit for your defense?
Maybe a little bit. They're inside outside zone type team. We do some of that. We're a little more gap scheme, and then you throw in the option stuff. But it's a sign of football. Just like it is every other week.
Appreciate
it. Anyone have anything else? Joe, Wags.
One more question. Were you surprised by the news regarding Brian Bohannon?
Yeah, I was. I appreciate you asking me that. He's a phenomenal football coach. Learned a tremendous amount from him when I was there. A great leader. man of integrity. Really disappointing to hear the way that kind of went down and was handled. Of course, I don't know all the details. I can't speak to that, but not a great circumstance for him there. From the outside looking in, didn't quite get the support that you need in order to go up to the FBS level. I could go on and on about that a little bit, but yeah, just kind of shocked, disappointed. Sad for him. Like I say, he's a phenomenal coach. I don't know if they'll be able to find better than Rob Bohan.
I think he never had a losing season until this year.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That's odd. That doesn't normally happen when you haven't one bad year.
Yeah, no doubt. Things don't add up.